Talk boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. It appears that two-time WBO super lightweight champion Christina Dinardatu will be boxing for a second time before this year's out. She's supposed to be returning to action later on this month on the 16th against an opponent that has yet to be announced as part of a Scorpion Boxing Prive promotion.
That's over there in Greece, where Christina is based out of.
Christina Dinardatu, who sports a professional record of 14 wins, 2 losses with no draws, 6 knockouts. She very recently returned to action earlier this year, after having given birth to her first child. That was back in July. Before that, she hadn't seen action until February of 2020, just before the pandemic shut everything down. She sat out all of 2021, sat out all of last year, returned to action in July of this year, and she's set to be fighting again.
She won a points decision in a 6-rounder over Alexandra Vujovic,
a journeywoman-level opponent, and even though her next opponent hasn't been announced, I expect that it will be an opponent of that same ilk.
a journeywoman.
They are slowly easing the former champion, the former two-time WBO super lightweight champion, back into activity. Remember, her last fight was a 6-rounder.
I wouldn't be surprised if her next fight is a 6-rounder or even an 8-rounder.
The goal for this year seems to be to get some rounds in the bank for Christina to set her up to do something bigger and better the following year. Presumably, a fight with the winner of McCaskill versus Cameron.
That's supposed to be for all the marbles, all the alphabet titles in the 140-pound division, the super lightweight division.
Kaylee Reese has vacated her portion of the super lightweight puzzle, the super lightweight crown, the 2 alphabet titles that she was in possession of. Now all the alphabet titles are going to be on the line in this fight. And whoever wins this fight will be a prime candidate, a prime target, I should say, for Christina Dinardatu. The Dominican-born, Greece-based Christina Dinardatu, 34 years old, certainly not the youngest fighter, though far from the oldest. There's still a lot of time left in there for her to have big fights and big nights.
She's a very entertaining fighter to watch. Big puncher.
Christina Dinardatu, a fighter whose base style is somewhat akin to what you used to see from Iron Mike Tyson in his heyday, that peekaboo style, that explosive pressure-fighting ambush style.
Moving side to side like a metronome whilst slipping the jab and coming forward.
Letting off big looping rights, big hooks mid-range to inside.
That's Christina's signature. That's Christina's calling card. She's an action fighter, an ambush fighter.
Would very much like to see the winner of Cameron versus McCaskill take on Christina Dinardatu. And because the winner of the fight will be in possession of all the alphabet titles at this weight, so long as they stay at this weight, a fight with Christina is an eventuality.
Every single one of those alphabet titles the winner's going to be in possession of is pretty much a target on that fighter,
that champion's back. Everyone at 140 pounds will be gunning for them.
Yeah, they won't have a choice, because if they want to become a champion themselves, they'll have to go through the winner of that fight.
We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. For now, the former champion is set to return to action in a little over a week's time against an opponent that is yet to be announced, and hopefully that will set them up to face the winner of Cameron versus McCaskill next year.
At least help to bring them a little closer to a fight like that.
One day at a time, one step at a time. For now, keep your eyes peeled for the ring return of Christina Dinardatu later on this month, and we'll talk about who she's going to be fighting as soon as who she's fighting is announced.
I had heard around the time when I was fighting him that he was not a clean fighter, and I like to give fighters the benefit of the doubt. Now, this is about competition. I never want to take away from anyone who steps in that squared circle. It's the most dangerous thing you could ever do. I respect every fighter who steps in the ring. I do not respect cheaters. And for me to hear this, this hits hard. Hits hard, hits home. And again, not surprised. Not surprised. I've there are certain tells, there are certain things that have been there. I've fought many times. I fought the world-class guys, and yeah, I mean, hearing this wasn't anything that shocked me. It shocked me because he got caught. Didn't shock me because it's reality.
How prevalent would you say are PEDs in boxing?
Very high percentage, because there's a lot of money involved. There's a lot of ways to clean the slate. There's a lot of ways to beat the test. It's an arms race between the drugs, the PEDs, and the tests. And there's a lot more money in the drugs and the PEDs than there is in the tests.
a good way to put it.
Clomiphene, which is also known as Clomid, I believe is the brand name. It's a female infertility drug that you give in order to improve ovulation. But for males, it can actually be a testosterone booster. But a lot of the times, guys will use it as a post-cycle drug. So you use an anabolic steroid, and then when you remove it from your body's production of testosterone plummets. So a lot of guys will use it when they're coming off their testosterone cycle in order to level out their testosterone level. But someone on their team scheduled the timing wrong and they got caught.
That's the other implication in reference to this fiasco that may be flying under the radar with a lot of people, that the fertility drug found in Conor Benn's system, a fertility drug that's a fertility drug to women and a testosterone booster for men, it's something you would use in tandem with another drug when you're cycling off. And you would ingest this drug after already taking that one. That while this might be the drug that showed up in Conor Benn's VADA tests, in all likelihood, he was on other stuff.
This is just what he got caught for.
What he got caught with, Conor Benn himself stated, "I am truly gutted that we were unable to make this fight happen on Saturday, and I'm sorry to everyone that has been affected by the postponement. I am still completely shocked and surprised by this, and it has been a tough couple of days. My team and I will consider the next options, including rescheduling the fight, but my immediate focus is on clearing my name because I am a clean athlete."
No, you're not.
All these guys that test positive for something, I swear to God, without fail, they're all reading from the same hymn sheet. They're always shocked when it happens, and they always assert their innocence.
This ain't my first fucking rodeo, that's for goddamn sure.
The outrage is most potent right now at the start. The outrage over this positive test and the fight's cancellation. But the saving grace and the silver lining for Conor is that
people criticizing him, they're a bunch of fucking hypocrites.
this scandal may have only added to Conor Benn versus Chris Eubank Jr.'s marquee value as an event, as a fight. If it ever is rescheduled, the same people that are criticizing Conor now are the same people that are going to be watching that fight.
Exactly.
I find it very hard to believe that this is the first, but you don't go, it doesn't, I don't believe it just happens in one fight. You have to be on this, maybe this comes from the Chris Algieri fight because of the fashion that he knocked out Chris Algieri was a one-punch fashion, it was ugly. And then I fight him, and in my whole career, people say, yeah, it's father time. No, it's not father time because I've not taken damage in my career. But now everything adds up for me. I mean, he was super quick. He's angry. His aggression is on point. And round 2 happened, and he hit me with one punch. And all I remember when he caught me flush, man, I was buzzing. I've never experienced that. Not facing Errol Spence, none of my fighters, but I was buzzing and I was out of it. And before I knew it, the fight was over. I was on the canvas, and I accepted it. I accepted it that I lost to the better man.
Yeah.
But now with everything surfacing, and I go, and I really look at it from the back, and I go, man, he was very, very confident going into that fight. Man, and so confident, and so much energy, so much anger, so much fire, and then putting me down with one punch. I was like, man, I find it very hard to not question. Has this been happening maybe since the Chris Algieri fight?
This is going to go on for a while. Conor Benn has quickly become a social pariah, but the silver lining and the saving grace for Conor is that this is seldom age in the sport of boxing. People will be angry for a while, and they'll criticize him for a while. Then things will go back to normal. They'll go back to not caring.
Because the same people criticizing Conor will hand you a word sandwich when it comes to some other fighter's positive test.
Word sandwiches for the whole family.
It's all very boring.
But he'll be all right. Just give it some time. Chris Eubank Jr. took to social media to react to everything, saying Conor got caught using an illegal substance, so the fight is off. Can't believe it. I really apologize to the fans and everyone that bought tickets, traveled, and booked hotels. This should not have happened. He has escaped his schooling for now.
You know, the story is they knew about Conor's positive test results for weeks now.
The spectators, in what is this spectator sport, they were the last to know. But as far as the tests, well, they've known about the tests for weeks now. Do you think that's the reason that we saw Chris Eubank Jr. walking around eating a bucket of chicken?
This guy couldn't eat something without posting a picture of it on his social media.
Quite cavalier with the weight cut he was intended to make, constantly posting images of food he was ingesting en route to what was supposed to be this fight. Now looking back, hindsight being 2020, was Chris Eubank Jr. cavalier with all of this because he expected that the fight wouldn't happen?
Because he knew about the test and he knew there was a chance that the fight might be called off.
His father's concerns, his father's protests. We all know that Chris's father was raising a big stink over this fight. He demanded that his son be pulled out of it. He demanded that the fight be boycotted. Now looking back,
Was all of that because Chris Eubank Sr. knew what was going on behind the scenes? He knew that Conor had failed a VADA test, and he knew
they were trying to move forward with this fight in spite of Conor Benn's positive test result. Is that what Chris Eubank Sr.'s aversion to this thing really was? It wasn't the weight, it wasn't...
No, it wasn't because Chris Eubank Jr. would have to cut down below 160. The real reason he was against this thing was because he knew Conor tested positive. Is that what all of that was about? It might have been.
So maybe they'll reschedule this thing early next year, or maybe they don't. Maybe Chris Eubank Jr. moves away from this thing, puts distance between himself and this entire fiasco altogether, moves forward with a Liam Smith fight on the Sky Sports and Boxer side of things. Or maybe he does something with Kell Brook. Kell Brook is rumored to be coming out of retirement. Before this fight was canceled,
It was reported that Kell Brook was back in the gym, back in training, and was eyeing the winner of this fight.
this fight that turned out to be a complete embarrassment for Eddie Hearn and Matchroom, and a complete waste of time and resources. Those most affected by this, the undercard fighters like Ellie Scottney, Shannon Courtenay, who was supposed to be making her long-awaited, long-anticipated ring return over a year out of action. She was supposed to be fighting on this thing, and now they've got to scramble to get these two fighters out there, along with Galal Yafai.
They unwittingly were caught in the crossfire of this scandal, of this controversy.
I am hoping that the fighters that were set to make appearances on the undercard get the opportunity to have one more fight this year. Ellie Scottney, Galal Yafai, Shannon Courtenay, because it's not their fault.
Kind of Ben fucked this up. He fucked this up for everybody. It just is what it is.
Maybe they'll reschedule this thing. Maybe they won't.
Maybe we don't see Conor Ben for a long time.
Hopefully, they will have more luck scheduling Anthony Joshua's next fight than the luck they had with this entire event. It turned out to be a massive scandal, a fiasco, as Anthony Joshua's next fight is now being eyed to potentially take place on December 17th at the Wembley Arena, Eddie Hearn has stated.
Wembley Arena, that seats about 12.5 thousand.
If that is to be the location of Anthony Joshua's next fight, you get the sense that they want to make things small scale for his ring return, ease him back to activity, and put him in a confidence-building fight. Now that all that nonsense with Tyson Fury is over.
In spite of everything that's happened the last 2 days, I haven't lost sight of that. I haven't forgotten.
The massive waste of time all of that was. I vaguely recall hearing that they're looking at someone from the top 15.
In the heavyweight division's divisional rank standings, they're looking to put Anthony in there with someone in the top 15 of the division.
And who that someone will turn out to be, I guess, really depends on whose divisional rank standings we're talking about. If you look over at BoxRec, where Anthony Joshua is ranked at number 2, Alexander Usyk, who beat him 2 times, he's ranked at number 1.
Tyson Fury's absent. BoxRec don't rank him. Neither do TBRB or Ring Magazine, you know, constantly retiring.
That might have something to do with that. All the retirement announcements he made post-fight after having knocked out Dillian Whyte.
He said he was retired.
Looks like the people at TBRB and Ring Magazine and BoxRec, they decided to take him at his word that he's retired, so they're not going to rank him. We look at those rank standings by way of BoxRec. Deontay Wilder ranks in at number 3, and we already know he's spoken for. Andy Ruiz, he ranks in at number 4.
It's not going to be Andy. Andy's likely on reserve for Deontay Wilder if he wins in a few weeks.
Dillian Whyte is set to be returning next month in November against an opponent that is yet to be announced. He ranks in at number 5. Joe Joyce, he ranks in at number 6. And when it comes to Big Joe...
Well, I'm hoping it's not Dillian Whyte that Anthony fights in December, and I don't think it's going to be Joe because of the politics of boxing.
Joe's with Frank Warren. We all know that. You think they're going to dive into another set of negotiations with Frank Warren for one of his boys, one of his fighters? Be realistic. Behind Joe Joyce is Luis Ortiz. Luis Ortiz, who just dropped a decision to Andy Ruiz in his last fight.
And he's 42 years old.
The BBBOC very recently stated that Lucas Brown is simply too old to fight Daniel Dubois. Would they take a similar stance when it comes to Luis Ortiz, who's registered as being...
He's supposed to be, 42, 43 years old, though most industry insiders speculate he's actually a lot older than that.
In any event, I don't get the sense that Luis Ortiz is the guy that Anthony ends up fighting in December. Joseph Parker, he's there, but he just got knocked out by Joe Joyce. There's also...
Derek Chisora is there, but Derek Chisora is rumored to be in the running for a Tyson Fury fight, also in December. I don't get the sense AJ's gonna fight Derek Chisora.
Behind Derek Chisora is a guy AJ already knocked out, Kubrat Pulev. That takes him out of the equation. At number 11, you have Michael Hunter, someone who's free right now.
Because his upcoming fight with Hughie Fury, that fell apart.
He ain't got a dance partner. Is Michael Hunter, who Anthony Joshua may end up fighting in December. Behind Michael is yet another.
Behind Michael is Martin Bacoli. Martin Bacoli, who's not booked. He ain't got nothing going on right now. He's free. He ain't got a dance partner,
and he needs one. Could he be the guy that Anthony Joshua ends up fighting in December? In truth, Michael Hunter, Martin Bacoli, these really aren't the kind of guys you fight when you're on the rebound. I'm just putting that out there.
I like both of those fights. Those are interesting fights for Anthony Joshua, though those are less than ideal opponents for a fighter who's on the bounce.
Frankie Sanchez ranks in at number 13, but Frankie Sanchez is spoken for. He's supposed to be fighting Carlos Negron later on this month on the 15th. Not that it matters, because Frankie Sanchez, he's a PBC fighter anyway.
Do we really got to do the whole song and dance about how difficult it is to get a PBC fighter to cross the street for a fight, even when it's with a marquee fighter like an Anthony Joshua?
Doesn't even matter. Guy's spoken for anyway. It's not going to be him. At number 14, you have Otto Valine. Otto Valine, who's shared the ring with Dominic Breazeale and Tyson Fury, made Tyson Fury work for his money. I like a Joshua versus Valine fight for December because Anthony Joshua just fought a southpaw, and Otto Valine, he's a southpaw.
A capable one, but he's no Alexander Usyk.
Coming in at number 15, you have Croatia's own Filip Hrgovic. Filip Hrgovic, who is in a pole position to fight for the IBF title.
He's right there on the matchroom side of things. It's a realistic option, though ideally,
you'd fight Valine.
And then maybe you fight a Filip Hrgovic for IBF mandatory status.
In any event, we'll see who Anthony ends up fighting.